Have you ever seen how some people just seem to control things around them? They don't need to shout, they don't need to beg, they just step back, and suddenly everything changes. The mood shifts, people start to wonder, they start to chase after them. They start to feel something. They start to feel something. Imagine if you did that. If you stopped always reacting right away. If you chose to be quiet instead of always answering. If you stepped away instead of getting angry. You think would happen then? Here's the key idea. When you're not always there for people, not always available with your feelings, your time, your thoughts, the world around you can feel like it's in trouble. That's because people get used to controlling you by how you react, by what you usually do, by knowing what you're going to say. But the day you decide to step back, the game changes, and people who thought they knew you realize they really didn't know you at all. Carl Jung said, "Everything that bothers us about others can help us understand ourselves better." Others can help us understand ourselves better. Think about this. When you become hard to reach, who gets really upset? Who gets annoyed? Who tries to make you react just to see some feeling from you? This shows you more about them than it shows about you. And it mostly shows how much you're still being controlled without even knowing it. Giving yourself away to please people, to keep things calm, to not lose people who deep down weren't really there for you anyway. And with every yes you didn't mean, every quick answer, every emotional reaction, you give away a piece of your energy. At the end of the day, you feel tired. You feel frustrated. You feel empty, and you don't even know why. But I'll tell you why. It's because you're too available for people who don't even deserve a moment of your silence. This video isn't about ignoring the world. It's about choosing yourself. It's about learning what Jung called becoming your whole self. Real, true, complete. And this starts when you understand that being quiet can be stronger than arguing, and that stepping back, when you do it because you're aware, not just running away, is a powerful thing. So, I'm asking you now, just think about it. How long will you let other people's feelings control you? How long will you react like a puppet every time someone pushes your buttons? Maybe it's time to cut those strings, to step back, to become a bit of a mystery, because when you stop being always there, everything changes. You've been taught to always be present, to answer quickly, to please people, to say yes even when you wanted to say no. Since you were a kid, you've been told that your worth is in how available you are to others. But here's something important that maybe no one has told you clearly. Being too available isn't a good thing. It's like being trapped. And as long as you think you need to be reachable all the time, with your feelings or anything else, you'll be controlled. You'll be worn out. And you'll be forgotten as soon as you're not useful anymore. Do you know why? Because being always available makes you seem predictable. And anything predictable becomes a tool. People start to use you like an emotional emergency button. They push it when they want attention. They push it when they want comfort. They push it when they want someone to agree with them. And then they put you back on the shelf. But you don't see this because you're stuck in the idea that being there for everyone will make someone be there for you. But it doesn't work that way. Carl Jung talked about the mask we wear to be liked and accepted. It's this mask that makes you too available. You say it's okay when you're feeling overwhelmed. You answer messages right away, even when you're tired. You explain yourself. You justify yourself. You defend yourself as if you owe the world something. But the truth is, the more you put yourself in the center of other people's lives, the more you disappear from your own. Being available all the time is a quiet way of giving up on yourself. It's a hidden way of trying to get approval, of trying to avoid being rejected. Of trying to control what others think of you. But this control costs you your peace. It costs you your energy, which you give away as if it's endless, when it's actually very limited. People who want you available all the time don't really want you. They want what you give them: support, company, someone to listen, comfort. But when you change, when you set limits, when you don't react, those same people get annoyed. They call you weird. It's not because you changed. It's because you stopped being useful to them. And here's the hard truth. The more available you are, the less others value you. Because what's always around becomes like an old rag. No one respects what they don't have to earn. No one values what's always there. So now, stop and think. Who really deserves your time? Who deserves your time? Who deserves your attention? Your presence? Your listening? Or even better, who deserves your absence? But before you answer that, you need to understand one important thing. Why do we react so much? Why do we give in so easily? What's behind this almost automatic need to answer, to explain, and to please? To explain and to please. The answer is in what Carl Jung called psychic energy, and that's what we'll talk about next. Because your energy is all you have, and if you don't learn to protect it, someone will use it against you. If this makes sense, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Carl Jung didn't think of our minds as machines that just react without any cost. For him, our mind is like an energy system, and every thought, every feeling, every action uses some of that energy. The question is, are you choosing where your energy goes? Or are you letting the world decide for you? Letting the world decide for you? Every time you react without thinking, you're wasting psychic energy. When you defend yourself against criticism that wasn't even important. When you answer someone trying to provoke you just to prove you're right. When you get into pointless arguments. When you try to please people who don't value you. You're using your inner strength on things that don't help you. And Jung was clear. The more you fight against something, the more it stays with you. The more you react, the more you tie yourself down. People who feel emotionally drained aren't weak. They're just using their energy in the wrong way. And do you know what happens to someone who's always tired? They become easy to hurt. And when you're easy to hurt, you become easy prey. People who like to control others, who are looking for chances, and who are emotionally needy can sense this. They see that you don't know how to protect your energy, that you react to everything, that you're always trying to fix the world, and they take advantage of it. Jung said that a healthy mind knows how to keep energy inside. This means knowing how to say no without feeling guilty, knowing how to be quiet without feeling like a coward, knowing how to watch before acting. Because true power isn't in reacting, it's in choosing when and how to act. And you can only do this when you know yourself well enough to see your own impulses. How many times have you lost sleep over a conversation that wasn't finished? How many times have you spent hours thinking about what you should have said, or trying to understand why someone treated you badly? This is your energy being wasted for nothing. You're keeping alive things that should have been over a long time ago. And feeding situations that only exist because you keep reacting. Psychic energy is like a shield. When it's protected, it gives you presence. You walk into a room and people respect you without you saying a word. But when it's poorly managed, you become invisible, reactive, fragile. And the world isn't kind to those who give in easily. So, start watching your own triggers. What makes you react automatically? What makes you lose your calm? These are the exact points where your energy is leaking out, and that's where you need to work, not to become cold or uncaring, but to be selective, to be in control of yourself. And here's one of Jung's most important ideas. When you save your energy, you break the ideas that others put onto you, and that bothers them a lot, because now we're getting into a tricky area. Silent manipulation. Silent manipulation. In the next part, we'll look at how people who take advantage of others feed off your energy, and why your unavailability completely stops their gains. Get ready to see clearly those who have always drained you without you realizing it. You think you're in control. You believe your reactions are your own choices. But the truth is darker. Most of your emotional responses are programmed. And people who understand this can control you easily. Control you easily. People who take advantage of others don't need to yell. They don't need to threaten. They don't need to force things. They just push the buttons you've left open, and you always react. Carl Jung called this projection, the way people put onto others what they can't see in themselves. But there's another part to this that few notice. While others project onto you, you also become a container for these images. And the more emotionally available you are, the more you become a blank screen for these projections. No. You know that friend who only calls when they have a problem. That partner who always needs you to save the day. That person who praises you only when you're useful. None of this is by chance. They're not connecting with you. They're connecting with you. They're connecting with the idea of you, with the role you agree to play. And why do you agree? Because you're afraid of disappointing them. Afraid of not being loved. Afraid of being left alone. The most effective manipulation doesn't happen with shouting. It happens in the quiet feeling of guilt. When you feel like you owe someone something, when you believe you need to be available, need to help, need to understand, even when it hurts you inside. And here's the main point. The manipulator doesn't need to control you. They just need you to keep reacting the same way. But when you stop reacting, the game ends. Hence, when you start saying no, answering with silence, stepping back instead of explaining yourself, the projections start to fall apart. The mask they put on you falls off. And this makes people uneasy because they no longer know who you are. And worse, now they're forced to look at themselves. And not everyone is ready for that. Your unavailability is a threat because it forces others to face their own emptiness. The silence you offer shows them the noise inside them that they don't want to hear. And then comes the attack. The criticism, the emotional drama. Not because you're wrong, but because you stopped being a convenient mirror for them. Jung said, we do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you step back, when you stop feeding the cycle, the other person's shadow starts to appear, and this is unbearable for those who have always used you as an escape. But what about you? Are you ready to deal with the discomfort of being misunderstood, rejected, or even attacked for protecting yourself? Are you ready to handle the silence that comes after the break? Because it's in that silence that a new kind of power is born. And that's what we'll talk about next. You'll understand why silence can be the most powerful tool of the human mind, and how it completely changes the way you interact with the world. The modern world is noisy. Everyone wants to be heard, wants to answer quickly, wants to win pointless arguments, wants to prove they're right, even if it costs them their own peace. But there's a power that few know, and even fewer master, the power of silence. Not the silence of being passive or scared, but a conscious, strategic, clear silence. A silence that isn't empty but full of presence. Jung saw silence not as nothing, but as good ground for inner change. When you stop reacting, you start to watch. And by watching, You see patterns you didn't notice before, emotional habits, ways people try to control you, cycles of hurting yourself. Silence allows you to see clearly, and seeing clearly is dangerous for those who live to control you. Have you noticed how some people panic when you don't answer, when you don't explain yourself, when you just disappear? It's not because they miss you, it's because your silence takes away their story, their control. While you're talking, you're still in their game. But when you're silent, you change the rules, and that throws off anyone who needs your reaction. True silence isn't just not talking, it's controlling your own energy. It's refusing to be pulled down by someone else's feelings. Aims. It's a conscious choice not to fight battles that aren't worth your time. Jung said that becoming your true self requires this stepping back. Because only in silence can you listen to yourself without the world's noise. But don't be fooled. Silence has a cost. It will distance you from people who only valued you for the role you played. It will make you hard to understand for those who only saw you through their own ideas. It will make you seem cold, distant, arrogant. But all of this is a reaction from those who never wanted to deal with your depth, only with what you could do for them. And here's the hard truth. The more you grow, the more careful you become with your words. Because you understand that every sentence is using your energy, and not everyone deserves access to your truth. Sometimes silence isn't running away. It's being in control. It's the language of those who no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Silence is uncomfortable because it forces the other person to deal with their own thoughts, with their own inner noise. And this discomfort shows you more about them than any argument ever could. You don't need to explain your absence, it explains itself. And those who feel threatened by it show how much they depended on your being off balance to keep their own control. But the most powerful silence isn't the one that bothers others. It's the silence that rebuilds you from the inside. The silence that connects you to something beyond what others think. It's in this inner space, free from other people's demands, that you start to get your energy back, to reconnect with who you really are. And this is what we'll talk about next. Because it's not enough to just block out outside noise. You need to learn how to use your energy consciously, to choose where it goes, where it stays, and most importantly, where it should never be wasted. It's time to learn to be careful with your own soul. If you're trying to get your energy back and set boundaries, you'll find my book Beyond the Shadow helpful. It explains Jung's important ideas and gives you tools to protect your energy, to set limits, and to reconnect with your true self. The link is in the pinned comment. It's no use understanding all of this in your head if you keep saying yes when you mean no, answering messages that upset you, getting into pointless talks, and staying in relationships just because you always have. Knowing without doing is just another way of fooling yourself. Real change starts when you decide firmly to be selective, and this takes emotional control. Conscious unavailability isn't about being cold, or arrogant, or uncaring. It's about no longer being reachable by anyone, at any time, for any reason. It's about taking control of your own energy, your own time, your own peace. And this starts with small actions. Not answering right away, breathing before reacting, leaving a conversation before